So we've fertilized, and we've kept our weeds at bay. But before we can add value to our cocoa, we must first pick it. Trees take 24 to 36 months to provide fruit for harvest. The right harvesting techniques ensure that there is no damage done to the tree.
We're going to show the proper method to harvest cocoa pods. So Franklin will use the secateur and extract these pods in the method that is recommended in terms for harvesting of cocoa pods.
So you hold the pod, you take the secateur.
Yeah.
Right, taking special care not to damage the
Cushions.
the flower cushion.
Alan Napier is a chocolatier who buys harvested cocoa pods to make his chocolate. He buys the pods and not the beans because he wants to have control over the fermentation process, a crucial step in how the chocolate tastes.
So this is what the beans look like here. So they need to get slightly darker. They should be in the next day or so, they should be ready. We fill up these boxes with the beans, cover them with banana leaves, then put the bags in on top. They're going to stay 2 days here. Then we're going to lift up the lid here. It'll go 2 days to the next box here, and then 2 days to the next box. This is because we need to air the beans, so the yeast need oxygen to function properly, and it also makes that we stir it up so it ferments evenly. You don't get areas that ferment and areas which are not fermented. The yeast are going to transform the bitter substances in the beans into amino acids, which then will recombine and give a much richer, more complex taste to the cocoa, and less bitter as well. So it's a very critical stage for the quality of the chocolate. Most people, if you buy their cocoa here, ready-made, it's not fermented properly. Mainly because they just leave it in a bag for a few days. Now the reason I think they don't leave it any longer is that it can go moldy, because if you don't air it every day or 2 days, the yeast don't have enough oxygen, so it gets anaerobic, and so you get a kind of anaerobic mold growing inside, and then that gives bad flavors. But also 2-3 days isn't sufficient. I'd say there are two important things for a good quality chocolate. One is the quality of the cocoa itself, which depends on the variety, where it's grown, the climate, the soil, and then the fermentation process.
After fermentation, the beans are left out to dry in a covered area outside, where they enjoy the heat generated by the sunlight but are sheltered from the rain. After drying, beans are put into a ventilated bag, like a burlap sack. In this state, they last until they are ready to be roasted.
So the advantage of cocoa is not too labor intensive. So for somebody, I know people who are approaching retirement age, so they'll tend to plant cocoa because that's, it's easier crop to manage. In Dominica, my advice is always do something different.
Many Dominicans are exploring the possibilities of adding value to cocoa. Lindell Paris knows all about how versatile cocoa can be. In addition to producing traditional cocoa balls and sticks for tea, her company Coco Label produces body scrubs and lip balm made from cocoa. And she doesn't plan to stop there.
I want to be the first female chocolatier in Dominica. That's my goal. When my father started going into cocoa, I started doing my own research. I wanted to add some value to our crop, and I wanted to take our business further than just selling beans or than just cocoa balls or cocoa sticks. We have to come to the point where we understand that our land is so fertile. We can just have cocoa trees thriving and make a living out of that. Not just farm just for farming, but farm with an end goal in mind.
Another cocoa entrepreneur making a big splash is Linvor Ambo. He's managed to turn Dominica's coveted traditional cocoa tea into an instant powder for convenient consumption.
Being the first person to produce instant cocoa powder in Dominica, it's not something I realized until people started telling me. They keep asking, how do we get it to be so convenient and soluble, etc. It was a process to actually realize the type of product that we have. And me growing up in a farming family, I felt that processing the produce that we have on the farm would be the best business opportunity to start. I grew up with the principle that whatever you have available to you, you should make the best out of it.
Because of Hurricane Maria, Dominica has struggled to meet the local demand for cocoa. The Cocoa Cluster hopes that their efforts will boost cocoa production in the island. They want Dominicans to understand the economic value and versatility of cocoa so that farmers are encouraged to plant the crop.
Hello. Okay, so we have caco ravioli. So the dough is made from caco and it's stuffed with cream cheese, herb, filling, and there's a wild garlic oil around. Okay? Enjoy.
Thank you. Thank you. We know cocoa before in the Dominica context as a beverage, cocoa sticks and things like that. So we're at a point now where we need to decide where we take that industry.
Given my mandate at Dexia, our focus is about export, stimulation of exports. And we have done all the analysis, including in collaboration with all the various stakeholders, all the analysis that point to the fact that there is tremendous potential in cocoa. Given the significance that we see that where cocoa can take us, we have been able to bring all the players together in a cluster. Okay. So all the various stakeholders, and we looked at the entire value chain, all the various stakeholders are involved as part of that process. Dexia has played a role in terms of cocoa facilitator. We are prepared to continue that role, to facilitate that process of bringing people together so that we can develop that industry.
From a producer's point of view, I feel that's when you actually realize how often people consume the cocoa beverage. Customers drink cocoa like at least once a day, sometimes twice a day. And then when you actually quantify the amount of cocoa beans that's required to supply an individual, with the beverage twice a day, you realize that all the cocoa the average farmer will have on their farm is almost a sure sale. So in Dominica, the more producers we have, I think we can definitely and be certain that the cocoa will be a proper cash crop for the farmers locally.
There's a market out there because in recent years, Asia, Russia, Europe, there's been rapid growth in the consumption of chocolate and cocoa products in these areas.
Yeah, I think there's a coordinated effort. The efforts are put in place by the various players from the Ministry of Agriculture, from the propagation standpoint, because it starts with the preparation of planting material. Once there is that demand for the product, you have to be able to supply the volumes of planting material that the farmers are requiring for crop expansion. We are partnered also with other agencies like Dexia, we have on board the GIS, and the other players, that, we link with to ensure that we do things in a harmonized way.
Cluster management is the best way forward when we want to increase, of course, economic activity and, of course, productivity. And cluster management, or clustering, I should say, comprises of small and medium companies. When I say companies, I'm referring to farmers, processors, handlers along the value chain. Of course, with a main focus to increase growth and, of course, competitiveness in the industry.
Really and truly, the first thing that is on the table is for the country to have a clear vision. And the vision has to trickle down to the farmer, right down, all right? Because if we have to really go to the next level from when we started to now, these farmers have to see it as a business as well and not just as a livelihood, and I think that is very, very important.
We have agreed that cocoa is a crop of choice. Yep. We have agreed that everything is right for cocoa for us in terms of our location, our microclimates, everything of that sort. We have agreed that there is interest in cocoa, and we have now a project that is giving us some opportunity to organize the industry, reorganize it. The question is, where do we want to go to with developing a cocoa industry.
It's one thing to produce, but consistency is important. Consistency is important because what it does, it maintains our level of competitiveness.
Given all of what we have discussed and what we have seen taking place in cocoa, I think there's tremendous opportunity, tremendous potential. Once all of the resources, the partners, the stakeholders, everybody get on board and the resources are there to do the critical interventions, your infrastructure and everything else, I see a bright future for cocoa, the cocoa sector.